Welcome everyone to Firm. Mark Merrill here for Fairness in Reporting Media. Today on the Fact Files, it's all about DOGE and judicial actions. As everybody knows, I think by now, that Elon Musk is the head of the Department of Gov't Efficiency, for short, DOGE of course, but he continues in pursuing and finding and destroying the wasteful spending by the former Biden-Harris regime and possibly as far back as the Clinton-Gore administration in the billions of dollars to evil and desperate third world countries who feel they deserve bailouts from their communist or socialist and totalitarian government leaders, while the leaders are starving their own people at the same time. How long has that been going on? Recent recovery of fraudulent and unconstitutional monies spent abroad will hopefully restore prosperity and help to also many hundreds of thousands, if not a few million, struggling American families on fixed incomes or on low income fixed incomes. So as these efforts continue daily by Mr. Musk here, and more recently his partner Vivek Ramaswamy. Recently, Firm had discovered a site on DOGE procedures called WashingtonExaminer.com/news/White House, and Musk Ramaswamy reveal the top 4 things to know about DOGE. The two business leaders explained their status as the following. That's why we're doing things differently, they wrote at the time. We are entrepreneurs, not politicians. We will serve as outside volunteers, not federal officials. Or employees, for that matter. Unlike government commissions or advisory committees, we won't just write reports or cut ribbons. We'll cut costs. Primarily, the 4 things to know, as mentioned in the website there through the Washington Examiner. Number 1, relying on the rule of law. Number 2, shrinking the federal workforce. Number 3, cut costs and deliver savings. And number 4, preparing a final cost-cutting goal to be presented to Donald Trump by 2026. That's the 250th anniversary of our country, folks. Donald Trump's got this down to his art of the deal, going way back. And he's passing it along to get this country back on track, folks. And enough of this overspending and needless spending that's critically hurting our economies from one coast to the other. One update, though, folks. We just got, before we aired our program, Vivek Ramaswamy apparently has submitted his paperwork and has decided to run for the governor of Ohio. He did this on Valentine's Day with the Ohio Secretary of State's office. So we wish Mr. Ramaswamy all the best. Of course, the 39-year-old biotech entrepreneur was a 2024 presidential candidate, but he has not formally announced his campaign, but repeatedly has hinted that he was eyeing an elected role at this particular time. So all the best, Mr. Ramaswamy. On another topic, though, folks, what we've got is more back and forth between Republicans and Janet Mills, as the legislature, back from an early winter break, is ready to tackle how to keep the 1% payroll tax that Queen Janet over here, Queen of Denial, against citizens here. Plus, look at also cutting back on Mills' supplemental budget proposals, which could bankrupt the state and hurt education plans. What do we got? The latest from our dedicated GOP representative, Laurel Libby, who puts out these notices and these emails and these posts just about every week. And this is in particular, folks, about taxation without borders on Maine people. That's our title for it. Here's hers as we take a look at it a little bit more in depth. She quotes James Otis as taxation without representation is tyranny. We couldn't agree more on that. Last week we had just one session in Augusta, she said. That was more than enough. If you, meaning the Maine people, have been following along in the news or social media, she said that $120 million supplemental budget was up for a vote, and that one particular day, it was a long one. It comes on the heels of multiple majority budgets that have grown Maine's biennial from just over $7 billion under the previous administration to a record $11.6 billion, meaning the supplemental budget would grow to a total of $11.79 billion. Janet, you're an idiot. Republicans voted against the budget, and when going back to Augusta on the 25th to vote on it again, that would be this month, folks, the 25th of February, will continue to cast a no vote. Maine taxpayers should not have to bail out the lawmakers who have grown government and overspent your money and mine, folks. What else? She says, remember that last year Augusta Democrats passed a 72-hour waiting period law imposed upon firearm purchases in our state. Late summer, the law went into effect, and in November, a lawsuit was filed to challenge the new mandate. Last week, a federal judge in Portland temporarily paused the 3-day waiting period on firearm purchases pending the outcome of the lawsuit. I have no sessions and no committee work scheduled, she says, folks. But in the meantime, she says, vacation in February equals less transparency and accountability later in the session. The final session on the day in the month of February is set for the 25th, as just mentioned, for another reason. And doubtless, she says, we'll have to have another vote on the supplemental budget. What articles like this one, Maine Democrats will reluctantly negotiate again with Republicans over the budget. See, the media is always against even the Republicans state by state, folks. Knock it off! This bill is still in limbo, though, on this budget between the Senate and House, meaning that the Appropriations Committee has no bill before them to negotiate. Any negotiations that do occur then will be behind closed doors between majority and minority leadership rather than openly with the transparency of the Maine people. And one more thing she mentions, folks. Are you tired of paying for skyrocketing electricity bills? Frustrated at having to pay a solar tax? Watch your bill increase with every new solar field installed in Maine? Yours truly, Mark Merrill and firm, did one particular instance of solar panels that are costing the Maine taxpayer an arm and a leg. Maybe even close to being frozen out from their own house. But it says an act to lower electricity costs by repealing the laws governing net energy billing has been scheduled for Thursday, February 27th. And now, folks, it's your chance to make your voice heard by testifying in favor of the bill, and you can submit written testimony or a statement in favor of repealing the solar tax online. In the meantime, go to Laurel Libby.com, folks. If you have any more questions, she's also on Facebook and YouTube. While we may be technically off from Augusta, there's plenty to do for work. The coming weeks promise to be a full one for her family, she says, as she's working from home and attending various playoff games and tournament games. She wants to hear from your testimony about the solar tax repeal bill, and so anyone can contact her, like we said, at laurellibby.com. I just want to make one more glance at it to be double sure, folks. You can go to email her at laurellibby.com. Email her to laurel@laurellibby.com. Or you can go to her website, which is laurellibby.com. So there's that particular story going on, folks. And one last topic we have here, folks, before we get over to it, we just want to mention to you that this particular sheet of paper that we copied a few months ago is that the Maine Jobs and Recovery Plan is Governor Mills' plan approved by the legislature to invest almost $1 billion in federal funds to help Maine recover from effects of the pandemic, to improve the lives of Maine people and families, build an economy poised for future prosperity, help small businesses, create good paying jobs. Circles represent recipients of the Jobs Plan grant programs. You can view the complete investment at maine.gov/jobsplan. Maine.gov/jobsplan, folks. $1 billion. I could imagine that happening in my lifetime in this state of 1.4 million people, let alone the way it used to be. Vacation land and affordable and easy to come to and enjoy the goodness that God created in this state among many others in our country during tourism season. Now with costs skyrocketing, you'll be lucky if you can even buy gas to get here. Thanks a lot, Janet, for nothing. Our final topic here, folks, we bring up Mr. FItton, the president of Judicial Watch. He's always in the media. On our program, as the final topic, there's some new legal actions taken by his organization, Judicial Watch of Washington, D.C., on issues like this one, where George Soros' Open Society Foundation is practically stealing U.S. taxpayer monies through the thing that the organization, I should say, that just keeps dealing out billions and billions of dollars out of our country, USAID. So here's just part of an interview that Mr. FItton had with one of the media representatives.
Yeah, so George Soros has the Open Society Foundations and organizations, and he's not only active here in the United States, but in other countries. And conservatives in these other countries are disturbed about his advocacy for left-wing values, and he's often been able to partner with the State Department, USAID, to advance these values. And we've exposed how government money was sent either to, in partnership with Soros's operations directly, or groups he supports in countries like Macedonia, Albania. And I tell you, it doesn't take a lot of money to sway policy in a country like Albania or Macedonia. And of course, they're able to leverage the money. Any of these left-wing groups. It's not just Soros. It's the whole transnational left. They leverage USAID money to lend credibility and political power to their advocacy for the radical left in these various countries. So they get the rubber stamp of approval and the tacit support of the U.S. government through USAID monies. And the spigot has got to be turned off.
Yeah. Tom, and there are other initiatives that USAID paid for, and that, of course, is with taxpayer money, and it's not necessarily to the extent that it's terrorist organizations, but it's, we mentioned this at the top of the show, $47,000 to Serbia to institute DEI initiatives, or $1.5 million, and then $47,000 to Colombia for a transgender opera. Pull back the curtain for us, because I'm trying to figure out why people in that agency have those desires to fund those things in other countries. Is it one of these things where the initiative gets snuck in there and it falls between the cracks before anyone can figure out it's there?
It's a plaything for the radical left. And, they pretend to be in favor of civil society, and their definition of civil society means groups that are advocating for this extremist these extremist views on culture and such. I mean, the issue about that program in Ireland, why is a development agency, forget about the nature of the program, some crazy play. Why is Ireland getting development money from the United States? Mm-hmm. And I tell you, foreign aid, the idea of government-to-government aid, outside of military aid is suspect. But for the United States to be intervening in other countries to advance this radical cultural agenda or political agendas that try to institutionalize the neo-Marxist approach and governance, I tell you, it's more of a way to make enemies than to gain influence.
Couldn't agree more with Mr. FItton on that one, as he continues to do his job along with his staff of trial lawyers, ladies and gentlemen, to help the United States as a whole stop the nonsense. Also, folks, Mr. FItton and his staff are monitoring these situations and filing lawsuits on others. A few of those we'd like to take a look at here in just a moment. Bear with us here a moment. His weekly briefing is where this came from, folks. His weekend briefing playback, Judicial Watch. You can go to judicialwatch.org and find that for. He has a lot of videos and also information as to what his staff and organization are up to on a regular basis, right up to the minute. This famously mismanaged United States Postal Service. It's getting worse, folks. We'll have to come up with a different name than snail mail pretty soon. But the Postal Service was also plagued by scandals for secretly spying on Americans recently over the past year and lost a staggering, hope you're sitting down, they lost a staggering $9.5 billion with a B dollars in the fiscal year of 2024, which ended in September. Another one, folks, Judicial Watch has new lawsuits being filed for records on Kamala Harris's travel costs and Special Counsel Jack Smith's documents, university foreign funding, and Biden's Internet for All project. And lastly, it's a scandal that a federal court had to order the Justice Department to admit the truth that their objections to producing records about collusion with Fani Willis had no basis in reality. Isn't that just wonderful to know? Oh, it just keeps getting worse, folks. It just does. In the meantime, you know where to find us. Anytime, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Rumble.com/FairnessMedia1, as you can see, Fairness in Reporting Media. At Rumble.com/FairnessMedia1, YouTube, Twitter, and 24 hours a day, 7 days a week at fairnessinreportingmedia@gmail.com, fairnessinreportingmedia@gmail.com. As always, folks, stay safe, stay warm. Your travels. Peace to everyone.